Hey, everybody. Welcome to WHUR at Home. We call it HUR at Home. And of course, tonight, I'll be your host, Frank Ski, tonight for the Frank Ski Friday Happy Hour. I'm so delighted that you guys are able to join me tonight as we do each and every Friday night. So last weekend, we talked and we made some bourbon old fashions. And it's sometimes more of a man's drink. So tonight I figured we would go into the world of wine. So here's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to you go ahead and ask me any question you want. I want you to get on your cell phones, text your friends, tell them Frank Ski is talking about wine tonight, because tonight's a very special night, right? Because tonight we are talking about wine, but it's also a holiday weekend. Let me get some of this glare off of my face. It's also a holiday weekend. So why not talk about wine? It's a big holiday, right? There's a lot of barbecue going on, a lot of people outside. Which wine are you drinking at the barbecue this weekend? So I got some ideas for you. So I want to first tell you about wine and then some ideas that you should bring when you go to somebody's house for this Labor Day holiday weekend. Never go empty-handed. Never go to somebody else's house without bringing something. And the best thing you can always bring, trust me, is a nice bottle of wine. Now, I know wine can be kind of intimidating for a lot of people, and it really was for me for a very long time. My first experience with wine just happened to be in the Virginia wine district, as I went one weekend during the fall up to the vineyards in Virginia. It was probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever visited in my entire life. And if you're looking, after we get through this last weekend in the summer, we start getting into the fall, when the leaves start changing. If you are looking for a great weekend trip, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get a bed and breakfast in the wine region of Virginia. The Virginia wineries are probably one of the most beautiful places in the whole United States of America, and a lot of people don't know. And the best part about it, there's a lot of bed and breakfast locations up there and a lot of great restaurants. So you can go to a bed and breakfast, then you can go out to a great vineyard in Virginia and drink some great wine, sit on the hillside. The weather is perfect. It's just magical. And it's one of my favorite places on earth to visit, and that is the Virginia winery. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about wine. So many people don't really understand that wine is made everywhere in the world, right? But even though they use the same grapes in different places, hey, Deborah, even though they use grapes in different places, the same grapes, why does a wine taste different in California than it does in France, or it does in Italy, or it does in Australia, or it does in New Zealand, or it does in South Africa? Why does wine taste different in all these different places? Well, there's a reason for that. And the reason is because of the soil. So many people don't realize that because wine is made in different places, it's going to taste completely different, right? So if you're in France and they're making wine in France, especially in Bordeaux, it's near the water. It's different. It's sandy. It's different than if they made wine in a place like Australia, New Zealand, or if they made wine in a different place in California. The soil and what's in the earth is going to make the wine taste different. But I want to get into something that a lot of people are afraid to talk about. And I'm going to do this tonight because I got a lot of requests to do it. Many people say that Black folk get intimidated with wine. And I got to tell you, I know a lot of Black people that love wine and are probably smarter at it than I will ever be. So do not believe what you hear. Now, you may be one of those people that feel like, wine is not my thing. Or if I drink wine, I only want to drink sweet wine, right? So let me tell you about that for a minute, okay? So a lot of us were born of the Kool-Aid generation. And I often tell people, I was a Kool-Aid kid. So as a Kool-Aid kid, I like sweet drinks, right? But as I got older, I started trying to drink wine, and I found myself drinking sweeter wines. So I started drinking wines like Rieslings and White Zinfandel, and that was my introductory to wine because I could not stand red wine. And I went out one night with a French guy that owned a club in Atlanta called Club Kaya, and we were celebrating our success. And he asked me to order the wine. And that is the key, ladies and gentlemen. You will be asked, you will be out on business, you will be with friends, you will be somewhere, and somebody will say, hey, order the wine. And if you don't know what to order, it kind of puts you in a peculiar place that you don't want to be in, right? So I ordered a Riesling, and the French guy told me, you will never order a Riesling again. And I said, why? He said, no, too sweet. It's going to affect your meal. You're not going to like it, whatever. And I never understood what he was saying, but I do want to tell you why that is, right? So many wines that are out there now, because Americans have this sweet palate, they add residual sugar to the wine. Sounds familiar to Kool-Aid, doesn't it, right? So there are some wines where the winemakers really make it sweet for a reason. Yes, they do, right? So there's a very famous South African wine called Jam Jar that is like way sweet, right? But some people like it because it's extra sweet. But when you drink something sweet, imagine having a great meal. Imagine going to a great restaurant, right? And you're at a great restaurant, and the waiter says, what would you like to drink with your fantastic meal that you spent all this money on? And could you imagine turning to him and say, Kool-Aid? Who would do that? Like, you wouldn't do that. It messes it up, right? So with wine, you got to realize that as you change your palate, just like with food, right? With food, as you eat it, you start to have a different appreciation for different foods, and you start really appreciating things that you did not know. And wine is the same way. So I want you to experiment with your wine, but I want to tell you why wine tastes different. And then I'm going to introduce you to some wine tonight. How about that? So a lot of wines taste different, ladies and gentlemen. And I am going to give you a reason why. Wines are made in different elevations. So when you go to you're going somewhere and you order a bottle of wine and it says something valley. Some wines will say something mountain. Other wines will say something hillside. Now, in your mind, come on, because you all went to high school, what do you think is going to be the fruitier wine? Now, that's a test, right? So wine is made from grapes, and the grapes are grown on a plant, and the plant is in the ground, and the plant gets watered. Now, out of the three different places, the mountain, the hillside, and the valley, which wine or which grape is going to get the most water? That's a test. The answer is the valley, because the rains, hits the mountain, goes down the mountain, it's getting absorbed by the soil, but most of it is going to land in the valley, right? It's going to roll off the mountain into the valley. Some is going to stay on the hilltop. So your mountain grapes are going to be a little bit more, it's called stressing the vines. And in Italy, they really do that a lot, and especially in France. And it brings a more distinct taste to the grape, where the valley grapes are going to be fruitier. So if you like fruitier wine, you're going to find yourself drinking valley grapes. That's just one hit. So when you go to a restaurant, let's talk about it for a minute. Ta-da! Black people's favorite wine. Yay! Rosé. This is Isabella Rose, right? This wine is made by the Mondavi family, by Michelle Mondavi, and I think Isabel is one of their children. But anyway, this is a rosé. Now, this rosé, watch this, listen to me, is made with Cabernet Sauvignon, a Cabernet grape. Now, Cabernet grape is what this wine would be made of, right? Cabernet is a deep red wine. Well, why is Cabernet red, but a rosé that's made with a Cabernet grape is pink? I'm going to teach you something. The reason why is because when they pick the grapes and the grapes are in the process of getting the juice out of them, with red wine, it's done in a big vat, right? A big vat. And in the vat, they put all these grapes on top of each other. It's huge. They put all the grapes in there, right? And the weight of the top grapes are pushing down on the bottom grapes, and the juice is coming out. Then they pump that juice out from the bottom over on top, and they keep pushing until all the juice is squeezed out of the grape. Now, with red wine, they leave the skin in there up to 2 weeks. Now, that red grape skin taints the wine, so it turns red. Now, with rosé, they only leave the skin on there, probably maybe I've heard 24 hours, maybe a little couple days, but not much, because they only want a little bit of that color in there. That's why it's called a rosé, right? Now, here's something interesting, and I'm going to pour myself a glass of wine. So this is one of my favorite winemakers ever. This is Palermo by Oren Swift, which is one of my favorite winemakers. I love the guy who makes this. He used to make The Prisoner. His name is Dave Finney. He used to make a wine called The Prisoner. His family's name was Oren Swift. When he sold the Prisoner brand, he began to make his own wine under the Oren Swift label. Now, watch. This is a red wine, right? So doesn't that look good? I know, right? With a red wine, it's going to be red like this. But I'm going to show you something tonight that you're not going to believe, okay? And I'm going to give you a treat tonight. So this wine right here is made by the Reynolds family, one of my favorite vineyards out of Napa Valley. It says clear. I'm trying to get it so it doesn't glare there. It's clear. This is a Cabernet. No color. You know why? Because when they squeezed the grapes, they took the skins out right away. So instead of leaving it in there a little while to get a rosé, they take the skins out right away, and it's clear. And it tastes just like this. So don't be fooled by the color. This is a Cabernet. When you go to restaurants, you'll also find a lot of people like Chardonnay. Chardonnay grapes are great. Sorry for the glare, so you can't see the name, Rayburn. But anyway, Chardonnay grapes are a favorite. They're found all over the world. As a matter of fact, a lot of champagne is made with Chardonnay grapes. Chardonnay is made not only all over the world, but so many different varieties. Now, you can have real oaky and creamy and buttery Chardonnays, and a lot of people like that, especially in the United States. The reason why is because when they make the wine barrel is made out of oak, right? And they burn the inside of the oak. And when they burn the inside of the oak, that's the flavor. That's that buttery, that's that Chardonnay, oaky, like buttery flavor. That's where it comes from. It comes from the barrel. So a lot of cheaper wines are never put in a barrel. They're squeezed. The grapes are squeezed. They're aged, for a little bit. They go through the fermentation process by adding the yeast. So, that's how they make the alcohol, right? So when they squeeze the grapes, it's very sweet, right? And it's sugar. It's a lot of sugar. So they add yeast to the sugar, and the yeast added in the sugar turns it into alcohol. So they only do that for a little while. till it gets to a certain percentage. And with wine, it's like 12 to 14%. They take it out, and that gets the alcohol level of the wine. So most wines, very sweet wines. Here's the thing. Very sweet wines, how much alcohol are they going to have? None. Like, you could drink this whole bottle of rosé and probably won't even get a buzz, because it's really, I don't even know what the alcohol content on this, and it has to say in the United States, 13%. So it's got a little bit. But with the sweeter wines, you're going to find that they don't really have a lot of alcohol content. Now, some of the wines that are real heavy wines will have a high alcohol content. So let's talk about, real quick, for the time that I got left, let's talk about, and I want you to tell your friends that they can see this video at any time. Let's talk about what wines to bring to the barbecue. Right. Okay. Which wines to bring? Velda McGee, which wine are we bringing to the barbecue? Well, because it's hot and it's summer, I like rosés. Love rosés in the summer. Nothing better than a good rosé in the summer. But while you're eating the barbecue, which wine is going to go the best with the barbecue? Well, if they got barbecue sauce on the wine, right? Barbecue sauce on the wine is going to be a little tangier, right? So you want something that's going to complement that. For me, I'd probably go with a Pinot. Somebody may debate me, but I'd go with a Pinot. Now, if you're at the barbecue and you're strictly eating a steak, then there's nothing better than a glass of Cabernet. Now, they have many different varieties of red, like Grenache is another. It's not sweet, it's just fruitier, so it's going to be easier to get. So if you're bringing a bottle of wine to a barbecue, my suggestion is to bring a bottle of rosé or bring a nice Pinot. And you really don't have to spend a lot of money. My suggestion is, if you go into somebody's house with a gift, always, use $20 as your mark. That you're gonna get something good for $20. You don't have to go overboard. Now, if you go into somebody who's bougie, like my aunt in DC, Nadine, then I got to bring something with a little bit of heat to it. So it's going to be a little bit more expensive. But like all of these, like this Palermo from Oren Swift is probably a $30 wine, right? The rosé that I showed you a little bit earlier is probably going to be up between $25 and $30. The Rybern Chardonnay is probably going to be about $12 or $13. Unfortunately, the Reynolds Clear that I showed you, the red wine, is only available at their vineyard. And I don't remember what that costs. But anyway, with that being said, I just wanted to spend some time with you guys tonight to talk a little bit about wine, and just to let you know that, it's always a great time to drink some wine. Last thing real quick that I wanted to tell everybody. Champagne is not just for celebrating. Let me say it again. Champagne is not just for celebrating. Now, if you go somewhere very sophisticated, okay, or if you go to another country, they drink champagne before dinner. You heard what I said. They drink champagne before dinner. It opens up your palate. It's a great introduction. It goes well with cheeses. It goes well with some meats while you're waiting for the event to start. If you're at your house and you're hosting something at your home and people are waiting for the barbecue to get ready, open some champagne, okay? It's not just for celebrating. Now, if you're celebrating, yeah, but it's not just for celebrating. And it's definitely not the thing you're supposed to be drinking in the club. But we as Black folk, we like to show off. So we drinking some champagne, right? But seriously, have yourself a great Labor Day weekend. Enjoy. And don't forget what I told you. When the weather breaks, the best place to go is the Virginia wineries. You will not be disappointed. Go straight out. Just go straight out. And you're going to find yourself, just keep going. Go past the airport and go out, and you will find some great vineyards, some great farmland, great meals, great bed and breakfast. And that's just a tip from your man, Frank Ski, okay? So we'll see you. Have a great weekend, everybody. We're going to see you guys on Tuesday on the Frank Ski Show with my girl, Nina Brown. We're going to do it real big again on Tuesday and wrap up your weekend, all right? So I am out. Have a good one, everybody.